Hey everyone, welcome back. So, today we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres, I mentioned them yesterday in my power rankings. They were ranked number 27 overall. I have some concerns with Buffalo. I do, because last year was a year that was very exciting for them. Although they didn't make the playoffs, they were fighting for it until the very end. Things were looking optimistic, and I get why Sabres fans would have a lot of hope for this season and looking at this year and thinking, if we play the way we are, we have pretty much the same roster besides a few tweaks on the back end and the goaltending. It's pretty much the same roster, and I get why Sabres fans may have been thinking, well, we could contend for it, but it just doesn't seem like that's the case this year. Things are not looking good. They've already found themselves in a pretty sizable hole that might be very difficult to come out of. So overall, they're 10, 14, and 2 for 22 points. They've lost four straight, four in a row. It's been a brutal stretch for them. They can't seem to stretch wins together, and they don't seem to bounce back well either. 6-2 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. They don't win their next game. Although it was a one-goal game, they struggle to win. They struggle to score. They struggle to keep the puck out of their own net. It just seems like a lot of things are not on Buffalo's side right now, which is kind of weird because last year it felt like that was going to be the year where they really started improving, and now it feels like we've kind of taken a step backwards. So this four-game losing streak, the first loss was against St. Louis, 6-4, and I'll give them credit where it's due. They beat the Rangers earlier on in that week, which the Rangers are one of the better teams in the NHL. So it was good to see that they got a win there. Then they followed that up with a 6-2 loss by the Hurricanes. So 12 goals in 2 games. That is not fun. And you figured they bounced back. Not really. They lost 2-1 to Nashville. A close game, nonetheless, but still, you wanted to get a win there, and I think that kind of killed the team. And then last night, they played Detroit, and they lost 5-3. And here's the thing, too. It's not going to get easier. It is not going to get easier. Their schedule doesn't get a lot easier. That's 19 goals in 4 games that they allowed. And combining up the totals amount they scored, that's only 8 goals or 10 goals. So they were outscored 19-10 during a 4 game stretch, which is not fun. Overall, those 74 goals for, 90 goals against, which is crazy to think because I believe this time last year their goal differential maybe wasn't positive, but it was definitely much better than that. It wasn't that brutal of stats. And one thing that I look at when you compare last season to this season is that pretty much everyone regressed. Pretty much everyone isn't doing well this year. That I wouldn't say they're not doing well, but it seems like everyone got worse overall. When you look at the point totals from last year, a lot of the players got excessively worse and noticeably worse as well. First off, Casey Middlestat leads the team in scoring. And Middlestat, he's different from all the others. He actually is having better numbers than previous years, which I think is because maybe Tage Thompson's been out of the lineup, but it's given him a little bit more of an opportunity. But regardless, Middlestat, 26 games played, 6 goals, 16 assists for 22 points. Those are solid numbers for a guy like him, who was profiled as a bust for a very long time. Now it seems like he's finally starting to pick it up a little bit. Maybe not worth the 7th round pick or whatever he was picked in the draft when he was, but still can be a suitable NHLer at the NHL level. Rasmus Dahlin then is second in scoring, 26 games played, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. I've seen a lot of people say that Dahlin's been carrying the Sabres every night and helping them out from it being much worse, which I do agree with. I like Dahlin a lot. I think he's a very good defenseman. The points aren't as consistent as they were last year as well with Dahlin. That's a very noticeable thing through a lot of these players. Jeff Skinner, 26 games played, 11 goals, 9 assists, 20 points. He's playing better than he was previously in previous years, but obviously you want to see a little bit more scoring out of him and some more consistency. John Jason Peterka, aka JJ Peterka, 26 games played, 10 goals, 9 assists, 19 points. It seems like he's making the transition over to the NHL. He did last year, but it seems like this year there's many more points, so it's good to see there with Peterka. And then finally, Alex Tuck, fifth in scoring, but is injured with 22 games played, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. Yeah, That is your top five in scoring. Notice how there's no notable players. Tage Thompson, no Dylan Cousins, no Victor Olofsson. There isn't many notable names in there besides the ones that I mentioned. The scoring has dropped off, and that's something that I mentioned. It's absolutely dropped off. There isn't a whole lot of scoring like there was last year. You look at Buffalo, they were this fun, high scoring team. I remember Tage Thompson was literally just destroying teams with his height every single game. Like he'd be tall enough where he could like take his stick up above players and like move the puck a way that other players weren't able to with his size. But this year, even though like he's been hurt, the scoring has been down for him too. It has. But your IR, you do have guys who are hurt. Thompson came back last game, so he's no longer in the injury reserve. But you got Alex Tuck, Jordan Greenway, Zegmas Girgensons, and Jack Quinn. Some notable players there that are out of the lineup. Most of them are forwards too. Alex Tuck's a big loss, and I think that's really going to affect them down the stretch here. They've missed him for a few games already, but not having him is a massive loss for Buffalo because I think the amount of value he brings to this team is exponential, and it's definitely bad to see him not in the lineup. Again, other guys who the scoring has dropped off a little bit. Dylan Cousins. Cousins had a great year last year. This year just isn't really there. And that's really unfortunate because I really enjoyed watching Cousins last year. But this season, just the scoring isn't there as much. There's some there, but it's not there as much as you'd think. And then Victor Olofsson too. Olofsson completely fell off a cliff. Was a 40-point scorer last year. Now he's not even in the lineup some nights. He's been a healthy scratch a lot. So I already heard rumors in the offseason about how he may be on his way out, which is very possible. I think if we come trade deadline time, the Sabres aren't in it. I would look at Olofsson, as a player that would be interesting. So yeah, like again, there's nothing much else to say about the offense besides the scoring's dropped off. It isn't there like it was last year, and it's definitely showed on this team. But I think another outlying problem too is the goaltending. Now we thought this problem was going to be solved with Devin Levi. I personally didn't. I don't know why people thought that he was going to lead them to the playoffs. I didn't see that whatsoever. Luukkonen, though, has played pretty well. I will give him some credit. 6-5-1, 281 goals against average, and a .907 save percentage. Levi, not kind of expected numbers. I pretty much thought he put up numbers like these. 3-4-1, a 3.73 goals against average, and a .876 save percentage. That's expected there for me. I figured that would be the numbers that Levi would put up. Then you got Eric Comrie, 1-5, 4.01, and a .863 save percentage. Yeah, the goaltending hasn't been great. Luukkonen's the best goalie. He's been all right, but he hasn't been awesome either. So definitely, the goaltending also plays a huge factor there too. And that was a problem they wanted to solve in the offseason, but they just relied on the kid, relied on Devin Levi, and with his 7 games played, said, oh, he's going to be fine. I will say this, they didn't have a lot of options come the goalie market, so I'm going to factor that in there too. But I didn't think Levi was going to live up to the hype, and he really hasn't. He hasn't. I mean, it's his first season. I don't know what we expected. He's in Rochester now. He's gonna find his game again. But I've seen this time and time and again where people hype up a goalie for a short sample size and then he doesn't pan out. So definitely, I'm a little bit concerned there with Levi. Hopefully, and it shouldn't affect his development. It just might take him another extra year to finally be suitable in the NHL. Hopefully, but of course we'll find out. And then lies the question: Dom Granado, is Granado going to get fired because of all that's happening? I don't think so. Like we have seen 2 coaches already that you can make arguments for it's not their fault as to why their team isn't very good, like Woodcroft and Evison. You can make definite arguments about why they didn't deserve to be fired, but there's obviously the people that think they should have been fired. So obviously it depends on the person. I don't think he gets fired though. I don't think this is all his problem. But obviously, too, like you see Minnesota and Edmonton do it, and look at how they've turned their seasons around so far. If this keeps going the way it's going, then maybe the Sabres or Kevin Adams looks at it and says, well, I need to make a change to change things up before the end of the season. And Granado could find himself on his way out. But I'd say his job is safe for now, unless if they start losing a lot more, like a lot more. So obviously, we'll see what amounts of that. The wild card race. There's a lot of teams that are still in it. Obviously, the Islanders hold the second wild card spot with 27 points. So the Sabres have 22. They're 5 points behind the Islanders for that last spot, but they have to compete with the Lightning, the Capitals, the Devils, the Penguins, and the Canadiens. Those are the five teams that are currently ahead of Buffalo right now. And Montreal, who's the closest to Buffalo, is 3 points ahead. So they're definitely going to need to hope that some of these teams that are above them start struggling a lot more and they can start getting some wins under their back and get themselves closer to that wild card spot. It's not impossible, but obviously you don't want to get much more behind than that. If let's say they lose a few more and Columbus and other teams below them start getting more wins, like Ottawa has a very busy month and they could easily pass them, then I think the Sabres could find themselves very far out of it for sure. So definitely they want to turn this around soon and as soon as possible. But yeah, overall, the scoring isn't great in Buffalo. Hopefully it gets better. The goaltending hasn't been great. Hopefully that gets better. And hopefully this team can turn it around because I really do want to see Buffalo in the playoffs. We talk about it so much about how they haven't made the playoffs in like 13 years. It's unfortunate, but hopefully eventually they will make it, and hopefully the fans will show up too because man, I know people talk about it a lot as well, but the seats have been empty. It has. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it. Let me know what is wrong with the Sabres and what you would do to fix them. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.